And welcome into the show. That's not the show that I wanted to be doing. This isn't the show that I wanted to be doing. But here we are. The Pistons are down 3-1. And yesterday encaptured everything that we became frustrated with throughout the course of the series. And it was just like, here's 48 minutes of frustrating basketball. Cade, the turnovers continued last night. He's now has more turnovers than he does assists in the last 3 games of the playoffs. Jalen Duren continues to be a non-factor, although he had his best game of the playoffs yesterday. The problem is the bar was very low, and Jalen Duren even coming through yesterday in what we're deeming coming through still wasn't even close to enough for the Pistons to come out on top. He ends up getting dunked on. They're force-feeding him the ball very early on in this game. And a turnover. Anytime he tries to dribble the ball, it felt like someone was coming in and sweeping from behind, grabbing a steal. The Pistons in total had 20 turnovers yesterday and now find themselves down 3-1. Could be one of the 8 teams, could join a list, be the 8th 1 seed in NBA history to not come up with a win in round 1 of the playoffs. One of the most disappointing playoff series, one of the most disappointing playoff games I can remember in a really long time. The 20 turnovers, here's the thing, Kyle. Those first 20 minutes of the game, not 20, the first 4 minutes of the game. If I would have told you this, there could be a YouTube video the first 5 minutes of the game just called NBA team rips bong, gets hit by 2x4 in the head, and goes out and plays a game. That's how they were playing in the first 5 minutes. Lackadaisical, didn't even know that they were on the court, felt like everybody was concussed. That's the type of turnovers that they were having in the first few minutes of the game. And then from that point forward, they're climbing from behind. They've got to claw their way back into it. And they did. They take a 10-point lead at some point. Then the second half rolls around, and it felt like I'm watching a 1965 basketball game. You know when you play 2K? And you go and play for some reason as one of these 60s and 70s teams, and you're like, oh, I'll just shoot threes. No, nobody's able to shoot threes. There's 4 guys in the paint. You're like, how did anybody score during this era? That's how I felt last night. How on earth are the Pistons supposed to score when nobody's a threat to shoot the ball from the outside, and there's 3 guys in Pistons uniforms in the paint? They scored 2 baskets outside of the paint in the second half yesterday. They hit 1 3 in the second half. They are the worst 3-point shooting team in the playoffs, but we knew that going in. So now I'm just incredibly frustrated that we sniffed all of this out throughout the regular season. They out-hustle everybody and get their way to 60 wins throughout the course of the regular season, but we knew this team had flaws. We knew that Dennis Jenkins, being the second most reliable scorer on the team for guys who can create their own buckets, that was going to be problematic. Oh, look at that. He's 1 for 7 last night. We knew that there was a lack of shooting outside Duncan Robinson. Oh, look at that. Not a single team has made less threes in the playoffs than the Pistons. We knew that Cade needed another ball handler. They just flat out didn't address that at the deadline. Here's Kevin Huerter. Meanwhile, Ayo Dosunmu, the same guy, this guy that came from the same team as Kevin Huerter in the trade deadline, is scoring 21 points per game for the Timberwolves in the playoffs. Everything that could have possibly went wrong for the Pistons in this series has gone wrong, and it feels like we are watching one of the worst versions of a 1 seed we could possibly imagine here with the Pistons playing the Orlando Magic. 2 of the ugliest offenses I can possibly imagine, yet Orlando's is just slightly less ugly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that I was going to get into. You say it's one of the worst 1 seed performances we've seen. Well, we're about to see one of the worst teams ever make the second round of the playoffs in the Orlando Magic. They're not even good. Mm-hmm. That's the most frustrating part to this. It would be different if it was this 8 seed that, man, it was the Charlotte Hornets, how we talked about their capability of lighting you up from deep any given game. Man, if Charlotte just came out and hit 23s in 3 of the first 4 games, you chalk it up to just man, that stinks. They just got hot in this series, but they shot the crap out of the basketball. This Magic team stinks. They came out and got an early lead, and then the Pistons punked them for the next until halftime, basically, and all of a sudden Orlando has the lead at halftime out of nowhere. And then, like you said, the terrible lineup that we saw in Game 3 that essentially lost them the game to open the fourth quarter, the non-Cade minutes, that same lineup gets thrown out at the start of the fourth quarter when the Pistons are down. And it was good. It got them back into the game. They were down by 1 when Cade comes back in. It's just like, whoa, that terrible lineup that we didn't even like, and it's not like Danis Jenkins went off or anything. Like, they somehow just got right back into it. Yet they don't score a field goal in the final 5 minutes of the game. Like, this Magic team is not even good. That's just the part that is the most frustrating to me. This has been such a dud of a performance from a team that we have grown to love so much, that won 60 basketball games this season. 60 of them.
By out-hustling everybody, not because they were a more skilled basketball team, and that's becoming apparent. That's the unfortunate part. Like, it's not even that I feel like the Pistons should be winning this series. It's not like I feel like, oh, this is just like one tough matchup.
Though.
They should, but they don't look like a 1 seed, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that goes without saying, being down 3-1. Them trying to score baskets feels like the equivalent of like hoping that one player hits 3 home runs in the same game. It feels impossible. It's just not going to happen. There's no easy baskets that the Pistons generate unless it's sparked on defense and it's in transition. And even if it's in transition, guess what you got to worry about? Cade Cunningham throwing the ball at somebody's feet and having another turnover.
Oh, man. That was probably
8 turnovers last night.
And the fact that they had so many of them right at the beginning of the game, I texted you right at the beginning of the game, and I was being hyperbolic, but if I said, if there's one more turnover, I'm turning this TV off. I mean, they had like 4 of them right in a row, and they're pointing it out in the broadcast like, the Pistons can't stop turning it over. They can't turn it over again, and then they did.
They had 7 turnovers in the first quarter, and it felt like 6 of them were in the first 3 minutes of the game.
And all of them led to Magic points.
Yes, all of them led to Magic points. If I would have told you, like last night, and obviously this isn't true, but if I would have told you last night, this entire team everybody just passed a blunt around 5 minutes before the game, I would have believed you. That's how they were playing. I couldn't believe it. Like, your back's against the wall. You understand that if you win this game, you're in the driver's seat again. You're going back home with home court advantage tied 2-2. We're all feeling good. And they just flat out got punched in the face and were playing catch-up the rest of the way until they took the lead, and then all of a sudden they blew that again. The offense was just way too hard to come by. So I came up with a list of who to blame for this Pistons situation in which they are down 3-1. I'll rip it off. You tell me who should be higher, who should be worse, who should be included, who shouldn't. I have Cade Cunningham at 30%. Look, most of the attention has been on Jalen Duren throughout the course of this series. Here's the thing. Cade Cunningham is the best player on this team. We want to talk about him as a superstar player. I think he is a superstar player. But you know what comes with that? Is the criticism and the blame when things don't go your team's way. It's just a matter of fact. You don't get to scathe by without blame as the best player, even if fundamentally around you there's issues that you cannot control. Even though your co-partner, your Batman, or your Robin, I should say, has not shown up here in the playoffs. Cade still has the most on his shoulders for this team. Therefore, he has to have the most blame. I told you the stat. He has more turnovers than assists in the last 3 games. That's straight up unacceptable. It's just can't happen. He's not shooting very well. 42% from the field, 28% from 3, 79% from the free throw line. It's just not good enough for a guy that we want to deem a superstar and put a crown on as the best athlete we have down in Detroit. I have Trajan Langdon at 30%. This roster sucks. Like, straight up. There's Cade Cunningham. There's Jalen Duren. Couple project players like Asar Thompson. And then you look at their bench. It's just not good. Javonte Green. Danis Jenkins, who, why on earth would you ever want to replace Danis Jenkins at the trade deadline? Well, let's look what Danis Jenkins has done, who gets 5% of the blame. 4.5 points per game on an impressively bad 26% from the field. Thought he had a nice game 4, looked a little bit more decisive. Then you look at the box score at the end of it, and he's 1 for 7. I have Danis Jenkins 5%, but to the Langdon point, we knew at the trade deadline, hey man, this team can't really shoot the ball. This could become really problematic when teams just ignore Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson when they're playing defense on those guys. We knew we needed to add more pieces, We knew we needed another ball handler to relieve pressure off Cade Cunningham, and here's what they did. They gave you Kevin Huerter. Ayo Dosunmu went for 4 second-round picks. I would have given up a first-round pick and 4 second-round picks for Ayo Dosunmu. He's shooting 54% from 3, let alone the field. 3 for Minnesota. You traded with the Bulls. The Bulls went on to give Ayo Dosunmu to the Timberwolves. That would have been a nice addition for them. So I have 30% of the blame on Trajan Langdon for just not surrounding Cade Cunningham with enough shooting, with enough spacing. It's part of the biggest reason that Jalen Duren's not been able to thrive either, because there's no threats on the outside. Jalen Duren deserves 25% of the blame. Came up with a list of words to describe Jalen Duren's playoffs so far. Aloof, invisible, exposed, timid, neutralized, clueless, shrinking, absent, disengaged. He's completely played his way out of a max contract. He's a turnover machine. Every time he catches the ball or puts the ball on the floor, it results in the other team going on a fast break. The most disappointing part about Jalen Duren isn't even the fact that his stats aren't good and he's not dominating the way that he does physically. It's the disinterest in actually being able to insert his will. Not interested in doing it. I have 9% of the blame on JB Bickerstaff. Doesn't it feel like JB has no idea who he even wants to close with? One of the games, Karis LeVert has 4 minutes. Yesterday, he's got 25. Javonte Green's in there at the end of the game. Danis Jenkins is closing yesterday, played 5 minutes the game before. The inability to figure out Orlando's pick and roll and defending it is mind-blowing. And there's a reason JB Bickerstaff is 10-22 in the playoffs. I have 1% of the blame to assistant coach Fred Vinson. This guy's supposed to be the best shooting coach in the world. Nobody on this team can shoot.
Man, he's giving the assistant coaches the blame. That's how you know.
Your thoughts on all of this? That adds up to 100%.
It's a good correlation of percentages there. I think Danis Jenkins getting any blame is just kind of wrong. He should have never been in the position he's in the first place.
But he is. He shouldn't have been, but he is.
He's a two-way guy, man.
But no. We can't do that. He's a two-way guy anymore. They gave him his contract. That's done.
Jamal Cain is a two-way guy.
Is he actually a two-way guy, or did they give him a contract?
That guy made his impact, that's for sure.
Yeah. Putting his nuts on Jalen Duren's face.
Yeah, look, I mean...
26% from the field. It's just not good enough, man. I don't care if you were a two-way player or not. Here's the role you were assigned. Here's what we ask from you. 26% from the field is not delivering. That's why I only gave him 5%.
Right. No, I know. Look, it's tough to... the majority of the blame should go to the trio of Cade, Duren, and Trajan Langdon. Bickerstaff, I understand, has the terrible playoff resume, and like you said, doesn't really know what lineup he should close with, this and that. I feel like a lot of their adjustments that they've made throughout the series there hasn't been a lot of them, but none of them have been very effective, that's for sure. They basically just got lucky that Jalen Suggs couldn't make a shot yesterday. It's not like the defense on him was any better. The spacing offense, so maybe JB deserves more, but it's hard to decide how much blame Cade deserves. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, because you just watch. I mean, like you said it. Watch him. Watch their half-court offense. What's Cade supposed to do, man?
You can't get into the paint.
Anytime he takes one dribble inside the three-point line, there is a guy at the elbow. There is a guy, a help side defender, who's just not even giving a crap about Asar Thompson on the other side of the court, just coming over to double-team Cade the second he drives. Now, the
all of that can be true, but yeah, the turnovers and the inability to hit a three or make a free throw, that's not okay.
He hit threes right at the beginning of the game, and I was like, okay, this could be a huge Cade game. Like, he hit 2 threes pretty early, but
he's up 30% for the series, though.
If he would have had 5 turnovers and all of them were like reasonable turnovers, I would not be upset. But more than, obviously I would have to go back and check how many of these were, but it feels like every single Cade turnover is just like a what are you doing type turnover.
Stuff that we didn't see in the regular season. We thought that issue had been cleaned up because it was a problem last year against New York. And then the turnovers were way down in the regular season. Look at this. The intensity gets dialed up in the playoffs, as we all know it's going to. And he's throwing the ball at people's feet in transition.
Some of them aren't even, some of them aren't even about the physicality and the intensity of the series. They have a 3-on-1 and he lasers the ball at Javonte Green's knees. That's not Cade. That's not, what are you doing? That's not you. He's on the sideline, and all Jalen Suggs is doing is just being up in his grill, and he bounces it off his knee. I mean, Cade, what are we doing? Like,
I think you're right that it's hard to decipher how much blame Cade Cunningham should get.
Right, because it's just you watch the games. You watch their half-court offense. I think he's doing the best he can from a scoring standpoint.
But if you want to be considered the superstar player that we want him to be considered, he has to shoulder the most blame. Like, there's no workaround to that.
For sure. But also, like, him having more blame than Jalen Duren, to me, I just can't do it. I can't. I mean, you said it. Like, Duren, it felt like, yeah, that was his best game of the series. Sure, congratulations. I mean, Beef Stew outplayed Duren at an insane level. Like,
Stu had 8 blocks and felt like he had 16.
Stu was unbelievable last night. And even JB Bickerstaff, he brings Duren back in. Duren gets yammed on, and he decides to close the final 2-3 minutes with Beef Stew because he just had to. And it didn't matter, but...
Yeah, meanwhile, Beef Stew's a walking foul. He can't help himself. Literally can't help himself.
And Jalen Duren isn't?
No, Jalen Duren's a walking foul in the way that he's out of position and just regularly fouls guys. Isaiah Stewart is just the unnecessary shoving of dudes. The half the fouls Isaiah Stewart picks up are unnecessary fouls.
I would rather be those than the and ones that Jalen Duren's given up.
Yeah.
And at least Beef Stew is bringing something on defense.
Some of those blocks he had. I mean, I was ready to do a
ridiculous.
segment of, is Beef Stew the best role player that we have for any of the Detroit sports
I think he still
things?
could, man. I mean, he was awesome.
Well, we're already at 9:17, which means we need to go to break.
Yeah.
Who do you blame for the Pistons' struggles,
Can we
and
just
can they
end the
come
show?
back 3-1? 989-837-6125. This is the